Thanks for mixing again tonight, Bear. I think that this show was the best one I've ever done. And that's thanks to your mixing skills. She reached up and pulled me down to her level, giving me a kiss on the cheek and a huge hug. Thanks, Tony. Hadn't you better get moving to the next destination? You're normally on the road by now. I wanted to make you an offer. Since Joe has decided to leave us, we have an open seat and bed on the bus. Syracuse is the next stop on the tour. Would you like to ride with us instead of in some noisy old tractor-trailer combination? I thought for a few seconds, then looked at the teenager standing before me. Our eyes connected for a few seconds. I felt something that I hadn't felt in many years, a very deep affection like someone feels for their family. Except I had none. Yes, I'll take you up on the offer. Syracuse is actually my home. I was supposed to fly back tomorrow for 2 weeks of vacation, then start my new position with the company. I think the ride back will help me to unwind a little better than flying. Let me tell the crew I'm leaving, then I'll get my things out of the truck. Great. Thanks again, Bear. You did a great job tonight. I wish you'd come to work for me, though. I could use your talents on my records and concerts. I don't know, Tony. Why would you want someone like me around anyway? Your talent and your warm, gentle nature are good enough for me. Warm and gentle nature? I look like a tough biker dude. How do you know about my warm and gentle nature? Your eyes. They're a window to that wonderful soul inside you. All anyone has to do is look deep enough inside you to find the real you. I blushed, but I doubt that Tony saw it under my heavy beard. Well, I'm making you late. Let's get moving. I collected my briefcase and we walked back to the equipment staging area. I found my second in command and let him know I was leaving. We said goodbye and shook hands since I wouldn't be seeing the crew again anytime soon. I got my bags out of the tractor cab and headed for the waiting bus. It was quite some bus too. It was a full-size passenger bus converted into a motorhome. The front portion of the bus had a small combination kitchen and living room area. The last half of the bus was broken up into a few small bedrooms. Most had bunk beds, but the last two had larger single beds. The bus started to pull out of the arena parking lot as we walked toward the back. Tony stopped next to a door. You're a rather large person. I don't think you'd be very comfortable in one of the bunk beds. My mom normally uses this room, but she's back in Los Angeles at the moment. You can use it until we get to Syracuse, okay? Thanks, Tony. Let me stash my stuff, and then I'd like to get a little tour of the rest of this palace on wheels. It is something, isn't it? I like traveling this way too. I know it's not the fastest way to travel, but I feel much safer, and I have a chance to slow down a little and see some of the country while we're rolling along. I dumped the briefcase and suitcase on the bed in the room. Me too. I could have been home in just a few hours by going by plane. Then I always need a couple of days to unwind from a road trip anyway. At least this time it will be a slower decompression than normal. Tony took me to the back of the bus to start the tour. This is my bedroom. It's a little bigger than the others. I guess being the star has its privileges, but I'd be just as happy with a smaller room and let everyone else have a bit more. I can't change the way the bus is configured because we only rent this one each time we go out. I'd have to agree, Tony. It probably costs less to rent it than to own it and have to do the maintenance on it before each trip. You've seen your room. Right in between the two is the restroom. I know it's sort of small, but it's better than trying to find a place to stop in the middle of the night. Agreed. Nothing worse than having to go and not having anything other than a bush to go behind. Tony giggled at my comment and continued the tour. This, of course, is the living room and kitchen. There's bottled water in the fridge and lots of popcorn to use in the microwave. There's some quick-fix frozen stuff in the little freezer in the fridge too. I like the sound system too. It sounds great for being on a bus. Tony, would you like to hear some of your concert tonight? We've routinely recorded the concert for your manager. I happen to have a set of CDs for the second show with me. Want me to get them? Sure. It's always so hard to hear what things sound like when I'm on stage. I'm so nervous all of the time that I can't really enjoy performing. You don't look nervous up there. I want to get the CDs out of my briefcase. Well, I am. Very nervous. I handed Tony the first CD. She put it in the player and turned up the sound system a bit as the concert started. Oh my God, I have goosebumps. I hoped that effect would be captured on the CD. It's so hard to get that to work on a home system. She sat down on the couch and listened to the music. She motioned for me to sit down beside her. She listened until the CD stopped, a full hour at least. All the while, she was giggling and moving her feet to the beat of the songs. That was great, Bear. I wish all of my music sounded that good. It could. It's all in the way it's done. I'm sure you'll find someone that can mix the way you like it. I think I already have. Will you mix my 2 Syracuse concerts? I want to hire you away from the sound company and have you mix all of my concerts and recording sessions like Joe used to. I don't know, Tony. I was planning on retiring from the road. I've been doing this kind of stuff for over 15 years now, and I'm sort of burned out. Can I think about it overnight? Well, since you aren't going anywhere except the same place I am, I'll let you make up your mind. Will you at least consider mixing the Syracuse concerts for me? I'm not certain that I can get a replacement so soon. We'll talk about it in the morning. Now let's listen to the second CD. I handed the second CD to her, and she swapped it for the one in the player. This was the second half of the concert. The music started again, and Tony went back to enjoying her performance. Somewhere as the second half of the show played, I must have fallen asleep on the couch. I woke when the bus hit a small bump in the road. I found Tony snuggled up against me under a blanket over both of us. I looked over at the sleeping teenager wondering why she had decided to do this. She looked so peaceful that I decided not to disturb her. She just felt right snuggled up against me. I put my arm around her and she snuggled as close as she could. I soon fell asleep again. I woke again to find the bus had stopped at a small diner a few hundred miles east of Chicago. The first rays of sunlight for the day were streaming in the window. Tony was still snuggled up against me. I reached over and gently shook her until she woke up. Morning, Tony. Why did you do this? You just looked so sweet sleeping. Sweet? I look like the world's toughest biker dude and you call me sweet. I see the you inside as well as the you outside. I know you've cultivated the look, but it doesn't matter to me. Why? I scare most people off after a few minutes. Well, you definitely don't scare me. Let's get something to eat. This should be one of my favorite truck stops on the way to Syracuse. They have the best breakfast menu in this part of the country. I need to change these clothes, Tony. Give me about 10 minutes to work the kinks out from sleeping here, okay? She looked down to see that she never changed out of her last stage outfit. I need to change too. It would look sorta strange to walk in dressed in glitter and beads at this hour of the morning, wouldn't it? In there it would look strange to walk in like that at any time of day. See you in a few minutes. We both went to our bedrooms. I changed into my usual polo shirt and faded blue jeans and took a couple of minutes to comb my hair a bit and trim my beard. Tony knocked on my door a few moments later. Come on, Bear. Time to eat. I'm hungry. Coming. I opened the door to see a short brown-haired girl dressed in old jeans and a faded flannel shirt standing there. A wig. Sure. It lessens the chance I'll be recognized. My natural red hair is somewhat unique, you know. Now let's go eat. I followed her out of the bus to the diner. She introduced me to the waitress and her bus driver. I must say that the food in the place was excellent. I found out that whenever she went through on her tours, she always stopped here. The owner and waitresses all knew her and welcomed her like she was part of the family. I got accepted into the family too. We finished up breakfast and headed back for the bus. We spent the rest of the daylight hours slowly working our way eastward, making periodic stops at various places of interest to Tony. Each time we stopped for a few hours, our driver, Andrea Johnson, had a chance to get some sleep. Tony explained that she always took the time whenever possible to enjoy life and see the country. We stopped at some of her favorite places, including a small park for a picnic lunch and a small, out-of-the-way restaurant for supper. At the restaurant, the staff knew her from other stops and welcomed her back. Again, I was made to feel very welcome and had a wonderful supper in some very good company. I felt more than a little sorry when it came time to leave. We got back on the bus, then talked for several hours in the living room area as the bus traveled eastward. Finally, around 11 p.m., we decided to call it a night and get some sleep. We settled into our rooms this time and were soon asleep from the swaying motion of the bus. Around 2 a.m., I had to make a bathroom trip. As I finished up and opened the bathroom door, I heard soft sobbing coming from Tony's room. I gently knocked on her door. Tony? Is everything all right in there? Come on in, Bear. The door isn't locked. I opened the door to see Tony sitting up in her bed. Her eyes were all red and puffy from crying. Why the tears, Tony? She stared at me intensely for a few seconds, then as our eyes connected, I felt an incredible sadness fill my soul. Oh, Bear, I'm sorry. I didn't want anyone to know about this. About what, Tony? She stared at me again for a few seconds. You have to promise me that this will never go any further, okay? Tony, I've only known you personally for just over a day now, but for some reason, I feel like I've known you forever. I've started to think of you as the sister I never had. You can tell me anything, and I'll never breathe a word of it to any other living soul. Thanks, Bear. It's my dad. In another few weeks, he'll be released from prison. You see, he went crazy and hurt me and my mom very badly and killed my younger brother. I'm scared of what he'll do when he gets out. He swore he would hurt us. Mom has been trying to get the parole board to keep him locked up, but the board feels that he's changed. Mom feels that it's all a cover to get out and get back at us, and I agree with her. I haven't seen anything about this in the news. Did this happen before you became famous? It did. I feel so afraid, Bear. Afraid that he'll hurt us and afraid of what it will do to my career. Things are going so well right now, and I don't want to have to give it up to go into hiding from him. You can always get a bodyguard. I've tried. They don't understand the life of a teenager. They aren't willing to put up with everything I go through. I don't want to live like some fragile doll all packed away in a protective box until my dad does something and gets himself back in prison again. How many have you tried so far? At least 6. None of them wanted to stay more than a couple of weeks. What am I going to do, Bear? For the moment, nothing. Just take lots of deep breaths and try to relax. We'll talk this over more in the morning before I leave for home. The sniffles slowly subsided, and the look of worry faded from her face. I held her for at least an hour as the bus bumped along on the final leg of our journey to Syracuse. Are you all right now, Tony? I think so. Bear. Thanks for putting up with me. I need a friend right now. I'm happy I was able to help. Let's try to get back to sleep now, though, okay? I got up to leave. Bear, please don't go. What? Please stay a little longer. It felt great snuggled up against you last night. Can we do that again? Just a minute. I returned to my room and grabbed my pillow and a blanket. I'll do it on 2 conditions. 1 is that we leave the door to your room open. 2 is that I stay above the sheets and blankets. That way there's nothing that can happen. Agreed. Agreed. Thanks, Bear. I have a real live teddy bear to hug the rest of the night now. She gently kissed me on the cheek as I climbed into bed and spread the blanket out over myself. She snuggled up beside me and we both fell asleep in moments. When we woke up, the sun was shining through the window in Tony's bedroom and the bus was parked in a rest area along the thruway. I turned toward Tony to see her smiling at me. Good morning, Tony. Are you feeling better now? Lots better, thanks. With my big teddy bear to hug, all is right with my world again. Well, let's get up and see where we are and get something to eat. Sound good to you? Sure. Meet up with you outside. Looks like another good day. We got up and I headed for my bedroom to change into another polo shirt and old jeans. I used the restroom, then knocked on Tony's door to let her know I was done. I walked up to the front of the bus and found Andrea curled up on the couch, sound asleep. I opened the door and stepped out into the cool morning air. Tony followed me a minute later. Looks like we're at the rest stop near Elbridge, just west of Syracuse. I've had breakfast at this place before. We're better waiting and eating somewhere closer to the city. Is that okay with you, Tony? I yield to the man who lives here. Where do you suggest, Bear? I can think of one place, but it will take a little while to get there. How about my house? Really? How far are we out? About 90 minutes. I live south of the city in a huge log home on the side of a hill. I'd be happy to make you and Andrea breakfast. I just need to make a grocery run to pick up the food. I didn't leave any perishables in the house because I was gone so long. You mean a real home-cooked meal at a real kitchen table? Can we have real waffles? If that's what you want, yes. Interested. Why are we still standing here talking when we could be moving? Tony started pulling me toward the bus again. Let's wake up Andrea and get going. Tony, let the poor woman sleep. I can handle this thing. My driver's license covers something this big. Works for me. Let's go. Hold on there, Tiger. Let me take a quick look at the bus. I always inspect the vehicle before I drive it, especially something this big. Safety first, you know. I made a quick trip around the bus, checking the tires and looking on the ground for fluid leaks. I couldn't find any obvious problems, so I got back on the bus and got comfortable in the driver's seat. I got all strapped in, then started the engine and let it warm up a bit. I checked all of the gauges and found that Andrea must have filled the tanks before she decided to rest. I had the bus back on the highway in just a few minutes. Tony was strapped into the jump seat beside me. A few minutes later, a bleary-eyed Andrea wandered up into the cab. What are you doing here? I thought I was the driver. And you still are. I thought that I'd spell you for a while. I'm licensed to handle this vehicle. Just head back to a bunk bed and get some sleep. We're headed to my place south of Syracuse, where I'll make you both breakfast. How's that? Thanks, Bear. It's good to have someone to take over for a bit. Makes it much safer. Wake me when we're there, okay? Will do. If we're stopped at a grocery store when you wake up, we'll be right back. I have to pick up some stuff because there's no food in the house. Now get some sleep. Andrea patted me on the shoulder, then disappeared into the back of the bus. Tony and I chatted away the miles toward my home. I learned a lot about the spunky 17-year-old and the full story of how she got where she was. Only I got the real inside story, everything that you'll never hear in the press and never will either. I also told her a lot about myself. Also, things that I thought I'd never tell anyone else. It just felt right somehow to share my deepest secrets with this beautiful young lady. We felt closer to each other with each passing mile. I stopped the bus at my favorite grocery store and went in with Tony to get enough groceries to do breakfast. We must have lugged out 6 or 7 bags full of stuff to the bus. The store staff recognized me since that's where I usually shopped. If they recognized Tony in her baggy clothes and unruly hair, I didn't know. At least nobody said anything if they did. We got back on the bus and headed for my place in the hills. It was only another 15 minutes to get there. I pulled the big bus into the long driveway that led through a heavily wooded area to the house. It sat nestled in among the trees in a forest on the side of the hill. All of the utilities were buried underground, so the only thing that showed was the house itself and a 3-car garage of similar construction off to one side of the house. This is incredible, Bear. The place is huge. You live here all alone. Yes. I wish I had someone to share it with, though. It's lonely sometimes, but I do like the peace and quiet. Let's get these bags in and I'll get breakfast started. We unloaded the bus and put all of the bags in the kitchen. I opened a few windows and started the fans to move the stale air out of the house. Tony followed me around, oohing and awing at the size of the place. I saved the best room for last on the tour. We walked into a finished basement and down a short corridor to a door set in the wall. I opened the door and turned on the light. Tony's eyes went wide at the sight of a complete recording studio. You have a studio, Bear? Why? I've always had an interest in the work. I built this a few years ago just to play around. I'm afraid it's not quite up to current standards, but I can get some great sound with what I have here. Is this the reason you knew how to mix my concert sound? Partly this and partly many years of doing that on the road. A good deal of what I did during the shows I learned right here first with local bands doing demo tapes. Want to hear one? I'd love to, but can we get breakfast first? I heard her tummy growl, then mine added its own noises. I guess we've been outvoted by our stomachs. Let's get back to the kitchen. We'll come back here later. We went to the kitchen and finished putting away the groceries. I got out my ancient waffle iron and mixed a batch of batter while Tony cooked some bacon. She put the bacon on some paper towels to soak up the grease. I put on the first waffle while Tony cooked a couple of eggs. I told her to go get Andrea and I'd watch the eggs. Moments later, a drowsy Andrea followed Tony back to the kitchen. Sit down, Andrea. Breakfast is coming right up. Coffee, tea, or OJ? OJ, please. And sunny side up on the eggs. Got it. Tony, I'll take my eggs sunny side up too, please. I'll have your waffle ready in a couple of minutes. I served up Andrea's waffle and started Tony's. Another few minutes passed. Tony's waffle finished cooking, then I started mine. Tony jumped up to cook my eggs and shoved me toward the table, telling me she'd get my plate ready. I shrugged and sat down. Tony set a plate in front of me a few minutes later with the waffle on it. The eggs were arranged to look like eyes, and the bacon strips were formed into a big grin. Tony kissed me on the cheek before she sat down to finish her own breakfast. Thanks, Bear. It's been a very long time since I had anything to do with getting breakfast. I really enjoyed that. I like the simple food too. I've gotten tired of all of the fancy stuff out on the road. Me too. How about you, Andrea? She waved in agreement as she hungrily ate her waffle. I'll take that as a yes then. Andrea looked up with a large smile as a drop of real maple syrup dripped off of her chin. I think we have a winner here, Tony. Andrea, do you want another waffle? She nodded as she put the last of the first one into her mouth. I got up to start another waffle in the iron. So, where are you staying in town anyway, Tony? I'm supposed to go to the big hotel downtown. I'm tired of hotels, though. All of the fans always trying to get to see me, and no peace at any time of day or night. Well, how about staying here? I have 3 extra guest rooms that have never been used since I built this place. They may need a little cleaning, but they're yours if you want them while you're in town. You haven't seen it yet, but there's even a spring-fed swimming pool in the backyard. The water's nice and cool even on the hottest summer day. Unless my manager vetoes the idea, I'd love to stay here for a while. After these 2 shows, I don't have another show for at least 2 more weeks. I could use a break where I'm away from the public. They'd have a hard time finding me here, wouldn't they? If you don't know that the little road leads to a house, you'd never find the place. Great. Can I use your phone? I'll call my manager and let him know where I am. Can I give him your phone number? Sure. There's a phone in almost every room. The phone in here is on the counter by the door. Help yourself. Tony finished her waffle, then called her manager. I couldn't hear any of the conversation, but she came back smiling a few minutes later. He wasn't real happy about the last-minute change of plans on lodging, but when I explained that it was kind of hard to find the place, he thought it was a good idea. The fans have set up camp at the hotel where I was supposed to stay and are already scouring the hotel rooms for me. I gave him the address and told him to look for the mailbox. He'll be here in a couple of hours. He just has to be sure that he's not followed by the fans. I appreciate that. Peace and quiet was the main reason I built this house all the way out here. I doubt that anyone will spot the bus from the air because of the tree cover. We'll just have to get you into and out of the city using normal vehicles while you're here. I didn't see any cars parked outside. Are they in the garage? Yup. I have a positively huge Ford Excursion SUV with dark tinted windows that should be perfect to drive you around in. I doubt that any of your fans would expect you to arrive in something like that. We could also arrange for a decoy limo or 2 as well. I have some friends in the business who can help there. Great. Then it's settled. I'm staying here after the concert for my vacation. Are you sure you want house guests for 2 weeks, Bear? Our eyes met again, and I knew then and there that this lovely young lady would always be welcome in my home and my heart for however long she wanted to stay. There are no words to express the feelings that passed between us during that moment. Our souls touched and intertwined, creating a bond between us.